Welcome to Rising Goddess Radio. I'm your hostess, Michelle Torrance. I created Rising Goddess Radio to be a space where we dive deep into our spiritual, emotional, and physical bodies. We're getting real and connecting with ourselves in the most intimate ways. We'll be talking all things sacred sexual, relationship building, and womb healing. We'll be learning how to connect with our bodies through learning the language it speaks, how to use our sexual and sensual energies to create, manifest, and heal our lives. This show is about healing the chaotic feminine and toxic masculine within to create a world that responds to the divine and healthy energy you chose to tune in, tap in, and turn on. We will learn from amazing humans who take time and share their wisdom and sacred healing magic, rising humans who are here in this world to be healers, teachers, guides, priestesses, warriors, and shamans. All divine sisters and brothers in rising. We'll get witchy, sassy, sexy, and saucy. We're going to talk all things that align us with our true nature and authentic selves and create a community that expands with the ascension and growth of each of us. So grab some green juice, light some cannabis, get your blankets, or sit by the pool because we are about to rise up another level together. Catch you on the inside, dolls. Hello, my beautiful rising humans, and welcome to this next episode of Rising Goddess Radio. This episode is actually a part 2 to our consensual non-monogamy and the modern swinger episode. This part 2 is with Taara Rose alone. It's just us girls talking. As you know, this radio show and everything that I teach and everything I'm all about is about empowering and rising up as your goddess. And part of that is healing the witch wound. And so the more conversations that women can have together regarding the tough topics or the topics that we have been ashamed to talk about or afraid to talk about or insecure to talk about for fear of jealousy or abandonment or anything of that nature that starts to rise up through the witch wound, then it's so important to talk about these things. Taara is amazing. She's beautiful. She is gifted to be able to communicate and hold space for people who are just beginning and looking to step into a non-monogamous relationship, a consensual non-monogamous relationship, or curious about going into the lifestyle. And also, you know, as part 1, her and James are really adamant about changing the perception and view of what swinger is. And so that's why they are the creator of the modern swinger. So we're talking in this episode with Taara. It's just her and I talking and smoking and chilling out. It is a normal episode with this new Rising Goddess Radio. This is us in the lounge, on the couch, in front of the fireplace, enjoying our energy and conversating together and just expanding through authentic conversation. So if you do have littles around and you are wanting to listen to this conversation without any questions or some words that are heard by the littles, then I encourage some earbuds or listen to it when littles are asleep. So I do also, though, encourage if you are curious in a consensual non-monogamous relationship or you have curiosity into it and you're with your partner, definitely listen to both part 1 and part 2 here. But I do highly encourage you as a rising goddess to be open when you listen to all of this, and whatever triggers your emotions, I invite you to get curious and ask yourself why you're being triggered. So sit back, enjoy this episode, and definitely go check it out, the conversation, over on Facebook, on my Facebook like page, Michelle Torrance The Rising Goddess, and it's at Rising Goddess Radio on Facebook, or come join the Rising Goddess group on Facebook. I mean, you should just join that anyway. So sit back, enjoy, and let's have a great conversation, and I'll catch you all on the inside. Hello, my beautiful rising humans. Welcome to this next episode. Today we have part 2 of the consensual non-monogamy and the modern swinger. And we're specifically talking with Taara today. We wanted to bring her back and connect with her on another level. First of all, we love her energy, super cute. And what she teaches is really, it really complements what I teach and what I talk about. And I feel that there's so many women out there, so many of you who have had curiosity, who have had struggles, who have had ideas and thoughts and conditions regarding this particular aspect of your own life experience here. And Taara is a really fantastic guide and teacher and conduit of love and message for this. So she's really going to be making a huge impact even more in this world. And so that's why I wanted to bring her back. So Taara, welcome back.
Thank you. Wow. That was so kind. So many things that you said about me.
Well, it's true. And I was talking to her before we started. Now, this episode, y'all, this is really just conversational episode. So make sure before we get started that if there's kids around, that either you have earbuds or you tell kids to head on over and out somewhere else, depending on where you're at. And then, Taara and I are probably going to be going back and forth, smoking, cursing, talking. Doesn't really matter. This is really like a round table lounge situation.
I like it.
Yeah, it's really going to be exciting because I think it's so important for, I was talking about this morning in the Rising Goddess group about the witch wound and slut shaming specifically tied to the witch wound. And, our sisterhood, it's been split for so long. And then back when it split, when we had to go against each other and turn each other in and for fear of our own safety, that started to split us. And then we started going and taking on the toxic patriarchy masculinity energy and then tapping that, turning that into the chaotic feminine and then doing that and then butting heads against each other, and really tearing down the sisterhood of divine feminine. And I think having these conversations and really being bold, uninhibited, honest, authentic in a couch style situation, as if we're sitting in the living room with the fire and we're just smoking and talking. So everybody out there, you can feel like you're a part of this conversation. So Taara, I'm not going to ask you the typical question that I ask all my guests the first time because you have asked that, but I do want to ask you, is that still the same for you? Do you still feel what you love about being a human in this time and space right now is choice?
Yeah, definitely. It still resonates strongly. Actually, it's funny. I didn't listen to your live today. I saw that you were doing it, but I just watched a 2-part documentary on Netflix about witches and literally what happened. And this woman, I can't remember her name, but she's the one that narrated it. And the things that women went through were like the trauma that we had to undergo, and not just us, some men too. But it was pretty fucked up. Like I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so great that you brought that up. I want to check that out too. And then anybody out there listening, definitely check that out. If the witch wound is something that has been really diving inside of you, you've been churning with curiosity, and it's more out there now because it seems like it's a trend or something like that for a witch. But just like we were talking about, I think on the last episode, very briefly, just as people are coming out, right? Whether they're bisexual, pansexual, whatever it is that they decide to label themselves, it's not that they're coming out and that it's all of a sudden just happening. It's the fact that it's been happening and now we're becoming aware of it. And so all of us have been this, I was talking about it yesterday in the group. To me, like breaking it down, words are like really sexy and fun for me, like really taking them and understanding the dynamics of them and the energy behind it,
Yep, I know.
And so the word witch to me can also equal alchemist. And that is really what it is, whether you take the earth elements and you utilize those resources and transmute different energy or create herbs and healing medicines, or just as, what you and I are in, we're in different fields of the same, we're in different rooms of the same vibration, which is the sex priestess, which is the priestesses of Isis and sex magic. And have you read the Magdalene manuscript?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God. I would so get that. That's some crazy shit. I mean,
really?
Yeah, it talks about Jesus and how Mary Magdalene was the wife of Jesus and how her specific role was specifically sex magic to energize his ka body. So when he does die, he could actually cut through the darkness and actually be the light. So it's crazy. Yeah, they had a child. Yeah, it's really, and she talks about it, all sorts of stuff. So that's what really got me into sex magic, and then understanding that that is really the lineage that I particularly come from. And there's different rooms and different, courses and levels and distinctions of it. And you're in another distinction of that same field. And I think it's the boldness of what it is. I was telling her, y'all, before we started, that she triggered me when I first started following her. And I love being triggered, giggity, but I think it's so important that when we are triggered with an emotion, that we get curious. Typically, we end up bypassing it, right? As an addict, you would run from it and you would reach for whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so what I love about the triggering aspect that you triggered me was that you triggered something inside of me that was what's usually going to happen. Let me rephrase this. When somebody triggers you, they trigger the truth within you that you have been running from. And so it's really a matter of getting curious as to why that trigger is happening. So then I started following you a whole lot more. And I dove into you because you were pulling something out of me that I had been running from for a long time.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's powerful.
It really is. It really is. And that's why I really find that, we talked a little bit about this earlier about, the sexual revolution and how it's been happening, but we are in a time right now where we're I believe more consciously aware as a collective with this sexual revolution.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So let me ask you of the word as we go back into the word. We're going to go back and forth and just be all over the place with this. But the word slut, what does that mean to you? How do you, your perspective of the word?
Personally, now I like it. It's something that almost turns me on and gets that sexual energy brewing. I know it's it's a big trigger for me to get into that sexual goddess. If I'm playing with somebody or with James, he says you're my dirty little slut. That's a huge turn on to me now. And before I probably wouldn't have liked it because the way that it was used towards me was more of a negative way.
Right.
Rather than the way I want it to be used.
Right. And that leads me into basically taking the power back of the word.
Yeah, exactly.
And so how did you, let's get into that. How did you take back the power of the word slut and put it for you to identify for you? How did you take the power back from that word for you?
How did I take it back? I think I just really didn't care anymore. I just released the expectations that society put on me and that friends put on me. And when I started to find the tribe of people that are in the non-monogamous community, I started to realize that it didn't matter anymore what they thought, what other people thought. And I could be whoever I wanted, and I shouldn't feel ashamed about it, really.
Yeah. And, I think it's that turning point right there. And I think that, what I'm starting to find as I start to now, this is going to be something I, have just recently, I keep saying it because the more I say it out loud, I'm like, holy fuck, that's what I'm fucking saying. I've just recently accepted being a bisexual woman in a relationship, but we have decided that non-monogamy is really what we have been working towards our entire 18 years in our connection, in our relationship. We started talking about it a while ago, years ago, but I was still in that fear of what everybody else is going to say.
Yeah.
Fear of sin or going to hell.
Yeah.
So let's stop right there before we move over and move on. What are your thoughts on that? Were you raised religiously? What are your spiritual or religious or non-spiritual or whatever thoughts on all of that?
Well, I was definitely raised like religious, probably until about the age of 12. And I think my parents kind of had a sort of awakening as to what the church wasn't really what they thought it was. And so they kind of backed away. And at that point, I was kind of free to make my own decisions. However, a lot of what I learned growing up was about God and Jesus and traditional Catholic upbringing.
Okay. Traditional Catholic.
Yes. Like, I was baptized. I didn't do communion. But there are a lot of people in the lifestyle who are of religious backgrounds. I know there's just one podcast I just listened to, and they're called We Got a Thing. And they were part of the church as well. And their pastor found out. And like, then they had this huge amount of people emailing them and contacting them saying, you know, this is us too. We're in the same boat. So there's a lot of people who were raised to think this was wrong, and they've realized who they were and that they didn't have to conform to the box that society says we have to fit in. Oops, hit the microphone.
I do that all the time. Pay attention out there. Well, you
just
know,
making sure you're listening.
Yeah, I know, right? For sure. But you know, that's actually a great kind of twist to kind of go off into, because, you know, for me, I was actually baptized Greek Orthodox, which is along the same lines, like lengthy and like Serbian chanting and like all this shit for like 2 hours at church, you know, like it's like a whole lot of shit. It is intense, you know. I mean, you've got the like major incense and like the big Catholic, you know, major robes and all sorts of shit, and big saints and all sorts of shit, right? And I had a great time. This is when I was really young. I had a fantastic time there. I actually resonated with the energy. I felt good about it. And then
because you like ritual,
right? Oh my God, you're so sexy. So so I loved it. But then all of a sudden my mom switched and she became a born again Christian, and she started living that Christian lifestyle. Now, this isn't all Christians, understand. This is, I don't box people into one lump sum. Every single human has their own individuality and how they do their faith. But this particular experience in my life was, I was taught about faith in fear, not about faith in love.
Yes.
And so any sort of initial instinct or thought or fantasy or curiosity that I had, even if it wasn't sexual, was instantly sin and terrible. And I think a lot of women can relate to that. And then they realize, just like you did, that, oh God, that's so great. What you realize is that it doesn't serve you anymore. And you found this courage, you found this light within yourself to say, you know what, fuck it. Because you found a community. You found people who you felt you belonged with.
Yeah.
Have you ever read, oh my God, it's a Brene Brown book, The Gift of Imperfection?
No.
Oh my God. When I started doing shame work years ago, just specific shame work.
I've heard of it.
It's a fantastic book. But she talks in there about fitting in and belonging. And so many of us do things to fit in somewhere.
Yeah.
Ultimately, when we belong somewhere, we belong from our authentic selves.
Yeah.
And so
that makes sense.
Yeah. Doesn't it?
That's how I felt like my whole high school life. It was awful. Like, it was just because my sexuality, because I was so open and free, like, definitely it was taken advantage of at times. And then, you know, it wasn't the guy that was slut shamed. It was me that was slut shamed. And many times it wasn't even to my face, but because I'm so empathetic, I could feel it. I could feel that hate, almost, that sometimes envy too, I would feel. And I think those were the two major emotions that played into the slut shaming. And it wasn't until I went on a trip with some girlfriends, and we ended up having a really big fight because of what I was doing and how I was just being free with my sexuality because we're on vacation and, YOLO.
Yeah.
And that was a big breakdown for me. I lost a lot of friends, and that was right before, actually that's kind of when James and me were kind of dating, seeing each other, walking around.
Yeah, right, having a little fun.
They did not like a lot of the stuff that we were doing, that I was doing, and how I acted on vacation, and it was bad. I was crying in an alley by myself.
Oh my God. That's so terrible. And that's so
Like,
sad for the other women in your life, because not only did they miss out from you in the experience of just being around you, but they missed out on any sort of awareness or experience for themselves.
yeah. Yeah, it was bad. And that was like a real turning point for me. And I was like, I just can't have friends who treat me like this. And it was actually a cycle that kind of went on a few times with friends.
Yeah.
And that was probably where I severed that cycle and said no more.
Was there an experience that was it, that experience right then, do you think, was that last one that you were like, fuck it, I'm done with this? Like, I'm no longer living this life. That's fantastic. Did you feel that you have been, I mean, you've been so open and free your whole life, which is why, the shame happened throughout high school? Because I remember, I mean, for me, I was a slut ever since I went from 8th grade, from 7th grade to 8th grade. I went from, a small A to a large C full D cup in 1 year, and my hips flared out. So instantly, because I had boobs, I was a slut.
Me too. I had the big boobs. I was big boob Taara at school.
Oh my God, big boob Michelle.
Yep. High five.
Right? It's so funny because I would always try and hide them. And now I live a braless life and I just walk around like, what the fuck ever.
I never hid them.
Huh?
I never hid them. I had teachers send notes home to my parents saying she shouldn't be wearing this stuff to school. Like, that's how harshly I was slut shamed. And I didn't care, and my parents didn't really care because they didn't think that it was bad. And they're like, you're 14. Like,
yeah. Well, and that then again, I mean, that can go into a whole nother topic about, the consent topic. You're 14 years old, you're dressing however you want to dress, and it's other people putting whatever their expectations on you based off
sexuality.
Of that. Exactly.
They're like, you're 14. Like, if a teacher's looking at you and thinks that you look sexual, that's kind of fucked.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's even, I mean, it's gotten to the point now where, I mean, it's like tank tops or like yoga pants.
Do you have kids?
I do. I have kids.
I can imagine.
Oh man. My daughter, well, I have a 19-year-old stepdaughter, and I have my daughter, Tori, she'll be 17 in April. And then I have an almost 13-year-old son. So yeah. So, which is actually something I kind of wanted to talk to you. I kind of wrote it down when I was going through my reading and just kind of journal spiraling and shit. Because I'm sure that there's many women in the lifestyle who have children, and I'm sure that it's a fear that they've got to work through, which is part of the mother wound that is really important to honor and accept and work through and heal. And so we can talk about that in a little bit, but I'm all over the place. But what I did want to tell you, and what I think was really cool, and everybody out there, y'all know I do tarot. I don't know if you know I do tarot, but I do tarot.
I did. I picked a card, I think, last week.
Oh, you did?
And then I saw it on your story.
And then you saw it. Did it resonate with you?
Yes, it did. I don't remember what it was right now, though.
I think I have it on my highlights, so I'll have to figure that out. But I did my reading today, and the energy that I pull cards for the energy vibration for the day, and then three draws that I pulled. And sometimes it's like 4 cards come out with 1 draw, but so I'll do 3 draws after that. And today's vibration that came out together was the Devil and the Hermit. And this is a really powerful combination that has come out together because the Devil is really a card about really dismantling old beliefs And the hermit is holding the lantern, the light of, truth and authenticity. And so with the hermit, the devil came up first, and then the hermit came up, which meant the hermit was facing the devil. And so with those two coming up, the whole vibration of today was really that, with the devil and the hermit coming together, we realize the vibration today, people are awakening and becoming aware that we were sold a bag of goods that no longer serve us.
Yeah.
And that bag of goods was ideals and fears and controlling beliefs and all of these things. And so it was amazing that it came up today in this read, because I wonder, and when you, as you go through the lifestyle now, because again, throughout your life, you've been open, you've been awake through this, you've been allowing yourself, and then you fully got into it. But as you continue to go on, do you find yourself going back into sometimes old beliefs or patterns of shame, or like picking up a bag that no longer serves you?
I don't think with the shame. I think from time to time, maybe jealousy is an emotion that I often have to revisit and give attention to. What else?
Let's talk on that, because that's a big thing.
It is. I get asked it a lot.
Yeah. So why don't you just dive in? Like, what are some of the questions, like the main questions about it? Who asks you that question the most? Is it women or men?
Probably 50-50.
Yeah.
For a while, it was more men that would reach out to me and want to know how to deal with, that's what they used to say, deal with jealousy. And, one thing we say is you can't just deal with an emotion.
No,
you really have to. A lot of times when we're triggered by something like jealousy, it's because of something we've gone through before.
Correct.
So it could have been a partner. It could have been somebody, cheated on you. And so this is your knee-jerk reaction. It could be that you cheated on somebody. So you carry that shame almost, and that fear. And it's also just something we were conditioned to think. Like a lot of times we think we own, and we talked about this before, the person that we were with, and that's your person, and they shouldn't look or talk to anybody else, when in reality they are their own individual. And so taking a step back and really understanding that and growing as a person, will you understand that, helps enormously with jealousy. And when it comes up, also thinking about, where is this coming from? What is the trigger in this all? Because it's not the other person. It's something that's going on in you.
Right. I mean, I would get mad at you when you were triggering me in the beginning. I would get, and I knew it was a jealousy thing, because ultimately, again, the trigger is pulling out an authenticity that you are running from.
Yeah.
So, when you find yourself revisiting jealousy, does it happen with an experience, or do you just find that it comes up out of nowhere?
It's you. No, it really depends on where we are in our relationship, how I'm feeling, where I am as a person then, how solid I am, how healthy I am, how long ago did I eat? Like,
yes,
okay. Jealousy is something that's just going to keep flowing through your relationship, and realizing where it comes from. That's the key, really.
And I wonder, because you are an empath, and every human is an empath if they choose to really dive into the work of it. But as an empath, there's so many emotions that run through the collective. Do you find that sometimes, if you are maybe not aligned, like maybe your fuel is low, or your whatever it is, you haven't grounded or whatever in a while, do you find that maybe you might tap into that particular jealousy through the collective, and then that is something, I had a completely different thought with that, it just totally went a different way. So, but do you find that maybe you tap into that?
Definitely. I think even when we go to events, or we're in more of like a group setting, or even on a date with another couple, I can feel if they're jealous or something's going on. And it, like you said, if I'm not aligned with myself and confident and feeling good about just where I am in life right now, it can be really hard for me to fully put myself out there, knowing that maybe one of them is dealing with jealousy. And so there's a lot of times where we don't play with people just because I can feel something that's happening. It's not always roses and rainbows either.
Yeah. And that's something to really talk about too, because I think it's the fact that you're choosing like, no, I'm not going to get into this because I'm not feeling it. I'm not aligned. There's something going on where it's going to be a mishap. And then like, you're like in the middle of having fun and then an experience happens that's not fun for anyone. And, we don't want that for anybody. And, when we talked about jealousy before, James made a great, point with his rant on the word allow. I thought it was really, really, really good, because it really, while allowing is a great word for other areas and aspects of your life experience, I find that the word allow, I agree with him in this particular experience, in this lifestyle and how you're doing it, is not really the right word for it, because it does show a form of control or taking or, unless you're into that and that's something you want to experience.
Yeah.
Fear and
have you heard of Betty White?
Oh my God, yeah.
You have?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's like the wheel of consent, right? Taking, allowing, giving, receiving. And she breaks that down. And I think that's a really healthy thing. Just like the blueprints, I think the wheel of consent is something that we should all be familiar with, especially if we're going to be playing with other people.
Yeah.
Understanding what those actually mean.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's so important too, because I was kind of going around and like looking around at some different sites and just kind of, enjoying the experience of exploring a little bit. And I noticed that there's a lot of boundaries set, clear boundaries, clear rules, clear ideas, clear clarity, really. And I think that is something that can really help with the jealousy aspect or the animosity aspect.
100%.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think jealousy really shows you where the edges of your rules and boundaries kind of lay too.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's so great about this is why I really feel like understanding clearly what consensual non-monogamy is and what the modern swinger lifestyle looks like, is really being open to any sort of idea that might align with your authenticity. And by doing that, by being open with that, you're allowing so many other streams of abundance or opportunities to be open in your life in other areas. And that really helps raise you into consciousness, which is why I think having a guide who is able to explain the difference, who's able to be or embody, that's the word I'm looking for, embody what so many women, I think, are
craving.
About. Yeah, craving. That's the word. That's the word.
Oh
my God.
They're craving.
Yeah, I just got like a total solar plexus, like, oh my God. Because it is true, because we have been taken from for so long, which is the witch wound. We've been taken, our power's been taken, our sexuality has been taken, our independence has been taken, our essence of divine has been taken. And crave is such a fantastical word for it, because we are craving that. And not only are we craving just the openness and the fluidity of the flow of life experience itself, but oh my God, I totally started thinking and the thought ran away. That's what happens.
Well, you made a good point though, with the fact that when you're consciously in like a non-monogamous relationship, I think you do attract other things because you're so open, you're manifesting that openness. Yeah. And I think that's why I'm starting to see a lot more women who are like us coming to me with questions and asking me things. And like my spiritual slut course, all of those women are very, intuitive, very, not, I don't want to say highly evolved, but just, they've leveled up so many times, and they just don't have that support system. They were kind of lost like I was for, that 5-6 years. I didn't have that until I found, my tribe in the lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, what's, oh God, it's so funny because I just had a vision when you were talking, like, when I was younger, I did so many drugs. I lived on ecstasy and coke forever. Like it was, that was me. And it was the vision that came to me was just me running. And it's really, this is why the work that I do is really, it really kind of helps, like really, like it just really correlates and flows with what you do, because it is that shame. It's no longer the running. It is finding the alignment. It's peeling back and then being able to really step into whatever it is that you decide. Like you get to decide. Nobody has taken that decision away from you. And I think women right now, whoa, that's what it is. Right now, women are finding their power to actually stand up and do it. And it's just really exciting. I get really fucking excited about what's happening, and I kind of go off and rants about that, but
it feels good though. It's been long overdue.
It has been. It's funny. I was talking to my husband. We have a really highly sexual lifestyle anyways. We obviously have, we fund and to do all, we
have sex.
Yeah. We do it. But as I have been, coming more and more aligned with my truth and everything like that, he has, and he's always been the container. He's always been a place for me he's known about all this before I allowed myself to accept it.
Wow.
Yeah. So the experiences now that I have, and let me tell you, ladies, if this is something that you have, whether you're bi-curious or you are bisexual in a heterosexual monogamous relationship and you're choosing to go to non-monogamy, the experience that you have, it's not like you have to have another person or have to have that a physical experience happen, because it can, obviously, and it can be super fun, but it's the connection between you and your partner that explodes because you allow your full self to be fully seen and fully given. And having a partner who understands that is so important and so amazing. And your experiences, your sex life increases. Your sex life, like, not like just the amount, but the desire, the flirtatiousnly of it, you feel the connection. And my blueprint, I'm an energetic, so obvi makes sense, right? And my husband is a shapeshifter.
Okay.
And so, and it makes clear sense. And so what I can do as an energetic, I can actually, shift with him energetically and be able to provide the different aspects that he needs to satisfy him. Because it also satisfies me in a way, because as an energetic, I love satisfying other people and seeing other people satisfied, So it's really, first of all, if you're out there, if you're not understanding what we're talking about your erotic blueprint.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. There's also a course. There's a few different courses out there. I haven't gotten the course yet. I've just been doing a lot more researching and diving in and geeking out. Yeah, I really, really want to too. Because ultimately, when you can understand your erotic blueprint, which is just like any sort of personality test, right? What motivates
Yeah.
you, what, all this shit like this is what turns you on, how you get turned on, how to respond, how to express, how to work with a partner if you have a partner, how to work with yourself, all of these things. And understanding your erotic blueprint not only opens up a channel of communication with the partner, but it opens up that connection and that communication with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I teach a lot, is really opening up that with yourself. And I know that the first thing that you teach in your course is self-love and understanding and opening up and listening and trusting self. Are we
And
delayed?
loving yourself. Because what?
Oh, we had a delay on my end. Don't worry
Oh.
about it. Don't worry about it.
What I really go into depth is learning to love your temple, your body, learning to love your soul and who you are, and then learning to love your pussy. Really.
Oh my God, thank you, because you were just in my head. Keep talking about it, because there's
I think it's super important. I think a lot of women don't develop that relationship with their vagina, and they don't visit it often enough. They don't touch it often enough. They don't look at it often enough. They don't taste it often enough. And so that's one thing I get in Spiritual Slut, is to do, like I say, soul gazing, and like looking at your body, looking into your eyes, and then do yoni gazing too.
Yep.
Because I think that's super important.
Excuse me, y'all. I fully agree. And this is actually something that, I teach with teaching orgasmic manifesting, the sexual alchemy part. I teach masturbation, and a lot of women don't know how to masturbate. A lot of women obviously are afraid and shameful of masturbating, and that's just the topic. It's learning how to actually fall in love with their vagina so they can understand the magic of masturbation.
Absolutely.
And so I love that you brought that up, because I'm actually going to be talking about, I used to be terrified of my vagina. I used to be terrified of her. I didn't know anything about, periods, and I was never taught really how to care for myself hygienically, and all of these things, where I was just always running. It was always a terrible thing. It was the sinful, that was the cause of all problems, and that's why I'm going to hell. It was just this terrible fear. Yeah. And so I know that there's other women out there, because if I've got that fear and I've had that fear, there's got to be other women out there who have had that. And I'm here to tell you that you can move past it. You can really do the work of falling in love.
I did it. I didn't like guys going down on me ever until James.
Me neither.
I didn't let guys do that, because I was there's shame. I couldn't just release and enjoy it. It wasn't enjoyable to me. So I just never wanted it. And now I love it.
Yeah. Now, and I'm fully right there with you, because I was like that too before Sean. And I mean, even just this morning, I mean, if we're having fun and, I haven't orgasmed yet, then, he'll just ravish and go down and do it all, and, it's
yay.
Yeah. Right. But before I was pushing him away for a very long time too. I mean, and for me, Sean and I have been together going on 19 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's, we've evolved and we've grown independently and as a couple, and he's a very awakened man. And so, I totally lost what I was saying. Oh, right. So I would, before I started doing this work and actually waking up to it, I would compare him with, all the other dudes before. And I also had an experience with some guy going down on me and then spreading a rumor. And it was a horrifying experience. It was a terrifying experience, and that drove the hate even more.
Wow.
into it. And so it's taken a lot of work to work through all that and release all that. And so it's funny, this kind of actually, I just looked down at this word, because we used to be afraid or we didn't like it when it happened. One of my followers in my community, she didn't really get slut shamed, but she got prude shamed.
Okay.
And she wants to experience things. She wants to explore. But she's always been afraid, and she never did anything before because she just never did. And so it was just the complete opposite. So I think sometimes maybe a fear of women, and I know this was a fear of mine years before when Sean and I would start to talk about this. We started, like I said, about 15 years ago, we started talking about this periodically, briefly. And I had this thought of judgment that I was going to get judged, that I was a prude, that I wasn't kinky enough, or that I wasn't, then of course we can go into this as well. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't thin enough. I didn't have the right size breasts, or my ass was flat or big, or, I had cellulite, or all of these things. I would feel like I would have to put on some other show or something like that. And I was a prude. And then I would feel shame for that, because at that moment, that wasn't what I wanted, so to speak. So have you ever felt that way? Do you have clients who have felt that way? And, have you experienced that at all in any way?
I think so. I think because I was so confused about my sexuality and how I was treated because of it, how would I explain this? I would sometimes, well, first of all, drink to help not to live up to what they wanted sometimes too, right? Like,
absolutely.
because
Like,
there was times where I didn't want to play or do anything, but I was at some guy's house, so it was like, okay, well, whatever.
This is what they expect. This is what they're already saying. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And with prude, I definitely have gotten feedback from people who have felt that way. For sure. Yeah.
Do you find that they've always had a curiosity, but have just been so afraid that they've tapped into that? If I had to put in a prudeness, you know what I'm saying? If you can't see me, I'm putting quotes around that, for safety.
Definitely.
Is it a safety mechanism,
Yeah. For sure.
Because I listen to a lot of Tony. I haven't
Me
in a while.
too.
And I love, the pain and pleasure and how they're associated with different experiences, which are tied to different emotions. And I feel like, for a lot of women that I work with regarding the shame release and everything like that, there's a lot of pain associated with sex. And there's no pleasure associated with it. It's the jealousy is associated with it. The animosity is associated, or danger, or anger is associated with it. Have you found that women maybe that you've worked with, or maybe that you've connected in the lifestyle, in the community, that are still in that area? Like, I know James said before, there's still some people out there who have maybe not ill intent, but they're not fully aligned, really.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, there is.
Yeah. And do you feel that when you're out there? Do you find yourself really tapping, trusting your instincts more when you're out in the social event, or when you're with a couple, like you said before, if you're feeling jealousy? Do you find yourself instantly trusting yourself more in those situations?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And that's a great thing. And for all of you listening out there, the reason why I asked that question in that way is because trusting yourself is so important before going into this, because if you don't trust yourself, then you can't trust your partner.
Yeah. And that's so true.
Yeah.
That's such a good point.
Thank you. It's really, because ultimately we are fully independent. We're making the choices and we are creating our world. Whether or not our partner is involved in our world is a choice, right? We choose that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a healthy relationship.
All about choice.
Yes. Right?
Yay, Tony.
Yeah, right. I know. I love it. I love it. So I don't remember where I was going with that. I'm just having great fun with this conversation right now.
Me too.
We're smoking, we're having fun, we're doing our thing. So let me ask you then. When you first started going out, now you said that you're bisexual, and when you started accepting it, how old were you when you accepted that? Were you in your teens? Were you?
When I accepted that. Because I would often like make out with girlfriends, definitely at like parties and stuff in my teens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I even really, I think I knew what bisexual was, but I never really identified with it until probably the lifestyle.
Okay.
Definitely.
So when you are going out, like, and you find yourself, how do you find yourself, like, how am I asking this? Do you go out and just like, you're like flirting and talking, just like you're flirting and talking with friends? You're just making friends. Is that your intention first, is just making friends?
Yes, 100%.
I'm really glad that came out, and I was confused on how to ask that question, because I think that's a really important topic, because Sean and I have talked about that a lot, and that it's really not so much. I'm sure there'll be fun flings periodically, and those can have fun and exciting and service the kink part of ourselves at times, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, being friends and having friends and having that connection where, you said last show that when you were doing, an MFF, and it's more of an intimate experience.
Yes, it is.
And, I'm thinking about the experiences that I've had in my life periodically, because I've gotten with a couple of women periodically. I remember when I realized, but then I chose to run from it, was years back when I was in college. And I had an experience. The girl and I were best friends after that. We became best friends, and I was like completely infatuated with kissing her all the time, because for me, it was a rebellious thing at that point in time, and I was all turned on. It was fantastic. And she was just an amazing person. She was an angel in my life in that particular time, in that particular reason. But we had an experience with a dude, and it completely turned me off. It was such toxic masculinity that we ended up just like leaving him out and then going off.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that it's friends, because it's not, I don't know. I think I'm just rambling now. I think it's like some thoughts go inward, and
if there's ego in the lifestyle, like, people don't like that. They get turned off pretty quickly. And I mean, like, there are going to be the people that have egos, and there's going to be events that are a little bit more, egotistical than other ones that you go to. But I don't find much toxic masculinity, not as much as like in the vanilla world, definitely.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because I do remember you saying that last time, like, you find like you feel safer, more secure when you're at an event versus a regular bar or club. And that shows the healthy masculine rule. It's more of like a higher percentage of the healthy masculine that's roaming around within it, which leads to acceptance of everything. And I think this, for me, when I teach how to really transmute chaotic feminine into divine feminine, it's just 3 ways, which is awareness, acceptance, and then action. And acceptance is really like such a key thing in all of our lives, and whether it's an internal acceptance or like an external acceptance, right? Community, right? Tony talks about people want to contribute, and that's a big thing. If we feel like we're not contributing to something, whatever the community is, then we feel like we're not fully whole or being accepted. And
good point.
Yeah. So I feel like right now we're in such a time. I keep telling my husband, I'm like, oh my God, babe, we are like legit in the fucking future. Like Back to the Future, all three of them is like my comfort blanket, my falling asleep. Like I have all sorts of shit like that. And so watching that movie and then like living now, like where we are at, it's funny and it's crazy to be a part of, but I feel like, and I've talked about this before, that the clarity that is coming out on the toxicity that's running through the world and the collective, I feel like people waking up to that is only going to be able to really start to heal and expand this particular lifestyle and community to more people. I think people are afraid to be accepted in this community. And this is something, I feel like I'm rambling all over the place, y'all.
Y'all.
For real though, that's what I do.
I say A.
I think it's fantastic. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
But
I cut you off. I'm sorry.
It's totally okay. It's really good weed too. No, I think really where I'm going with it is, I think that there's more to this lifestyle and this community than what has been told to you. I think the bag of goods that have been sold to the collective isn't fully that good. And I know we touched a little bit on this before in the last episode, but non-monogamy basically encompasses all sorts of pretty much everything. And it's all different levels, right? It's all different experiences that can happen. And I think that I read a post that you made today and somebody commented right after it, but oh my God, it's a great picture in the forest there, by the way. But you were like, you can take it at your own pace, like there's no expectations.
Yeah.
Right. So
you don't have to be like what you think it is and sleep with everyone and try and get it all in. You can take your time and figure out what works for you. And it's not a rush to be like everybody else that you may see, especially, a lot of the people that are out there doing the podcasts and educating others and being the ambassadors of the lifestyle. A lot of them have been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
So, they're hooking up every weekend, and that's just the norm for them now.
Right.
When you're starting out, it might be once every 3-4 months.
Well, and I think that what is so important and what I love that you touched on is that there are no expectations. And because there aren't any expectations in this area, it's like there's no expectations in other areas. I think we almost touched on it before, but like, an expectation of what, like a body physique or what you are to look like or what you're to dress like, you're expected, from what I'm researching and the fun I'm having and the more I'm getting to know you and learning all about it, is the only thing that's expected is your truth and being yourself. And I think that is really ultimately where the world is going. And being able to have a support system like yourself, like having the course and having you being a bridge, and it's a sturdy bridge. It's a comforting bridge. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's important for people to have that. And I think if they can see that you're that person and that you're a bridge for so many people, that there's other people out there who can, so Anyway.
Wow, that's such a compliment. Oh my God.
Well, it is for you. It's true because I think this is where the witch wound needs to start healing too, is because, and we see it out there, really celebrating other women and celebrating who they are, celebrating why they are, celebrating what they are, celebrating when they are, celebrating everything about the existence of another woman. And if you can really harness and tap into genuine celebration for another woman, that's where you can really start to break down and dismantle this witch wound.
Yeah.
And we can really start to change this world, like in a dramatic quantum leap sense.
Yeah. Well, like even tonight, so I'm having my spiritual sluts all over, and we're doing like just hanging out, having pizza, and literally celebrating each other for going through the course. And this was just women that were in Calgary and Alberta. So unfortunately not everyone, but I mean, from those 8 women that did the course, how many women are they going to talk to?
Right.
And now apply what they learned to their relationships with women. And, those women hear about it and then they start to open up to this idea. And really it is happening fast.
It is happening fast. And, oh God, there's a thought that came in when you were talking and I thought about it earlier. It'll come back to me, but, oh God. Now it's like a vendetta, like when you're like, oh, who's that guy? And then you're like, oh shit. And it's like, you have to know before, or else you wake up at like 2 a.m. and you'd be like, what's up?
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. Well, refresh me. What were we just talking about?
Talking about the women coming over and empowering each other. Oh,
yes. Thank you. I was
talking women about empower women.
Yes. And when you were saying, how we can, when they're talking with other women and they're exploring and they're like spreading that information and that support and that awareness and stuff like that, talking today when I was in the group talking about the witch wound, that's what we talked about. The healing that they are doing, that you're providing them, not only is it healing them, but when we heal ourselves, we heal somebody else at a vibrational level that could be across the world. Somebody else has an awareness or a zing of something. And that's how connected we are. So the healing that you do is massive. It throws out massive ripples into the collective vibration. And some people, if they're on that field, that vibrational field, they'll tap into that, right? And they'll be like, oh, they'll get curious. They'll have a zing of some sort. And then whether or not it's the thought or the healing that you had, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that the vibration of the healing triggered some sort of emotion that would help them get curious. And
I love that.
Isn't it awesome? Oh my God. I geek the fuck out on that shit. So that's why it's really important, I think. And I think too that, the way that we're moving in this world, we talked a little bit briefly about it last time, but like we really need to start supporting younger generations of humans coming into this world. It's not the older generations that are going to be continuing this world here. You know what I'm saying? They're going to go back to the earth and newer humans are going to be coming through. And by doing this work now, not only are you providing, a playing field here in the world, but when people are doing that work and the work that we both do, removing that shame, taking the action, you know what I'm saying, loving themselves, really falling in love with everything about them, connecting with other women, they're not only doing a physical playing field, but like they're releasing and healing ancient lines of fear and hate. And so the new generation that's born out of that is no longer going to have that shame vibration in their field. And so they're going to start awakened. They're going to start aligned. They're going to start fluid, and they're going to start acceptance. And it's really exciting. And so it's important for us to do the work here so it pushes forward for the next. I mean, we came here to expand. This is, this is what we're doing. We came here to co-create and to expand in this universe. And the only way to expand is to become aware, So, yeah.
I know. It's sometimes I'm like, well, it would be nice to be like a kid and then grow up in like this world. It's like, where to be part of the LGBT community is just the norm. I didn't grow up with that. I'm sure you didn't either.
No, I mean, my high school, it was a little bit more because I went to a performing arts high school. I was a musician.
Okay.
And so our ratio, we had a lot more homosexual males in our school. We had a lot of performers, a lot of dancers, a lot of theater. And so I was around it, but it was something that I didn't really judge about, but I always heard it in the back of my head from my mom and my dad and anybody else, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but I think it's what I feel like I want to see happen, or what I hope happen, is that there's really no need for a label anymore on it, that it's just,
yes.
We're just humans, and it just is. We're just, and so that's the work that we're doing now, right now. That's the foundational work that we're laying out. And it's fucking exciting, isn't it? It's super fucking cray, but it's super fucking exciting. And so
it's rewarding.
It really is. Mm-hmm. It really is, because, oh God. Do you ever sit sometimes and I know you live in a really beautiful area, right? You've got lots of beautiful trees and stuff like that. And I'm here in Oregon.
Okay.
I live in a Bob Ross painting, and it's really the most beautiful thing ever in the world. And sometimes I sit here and I just am so grateful to be doing what I'm doing in this time and space right now, and meeting the humans that I'm meeting right now. And it feels like we're on this verge, this precipice of something.
Yes.
I've been doing this movement a lot lately. I don't know why, but this, it's blowing open.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where we are right now. And understand out there, if y'all listening, if you resonated with anything that Taara and I talked about, because we're going to get cutting this off soon for everybody out there and whatnot, but if you resonated with anything that Taara and I talked about, it's really just important to understand that it's okay, first of all. If you're triggered by some sort of emotion, if an emotion was triggered by something that we talked about, get curious about it. You might feel anger. It's okay, totally the dog.
Layla, sorry. Layla, magic. I love
that the name is Magic.
Yeah, because she just ignores the word come. Stop your barking.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. That's totally okay. But get curious, start a journal spiral. You're probably going to feel anger, that's going to be an emotion that triggers. You're probably going to feel irritation. What you're probably going to start off with is judgment. That's the first feeling that you're probably going to feel if you're listening to this and you're getting triggered.
I do trigger people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's fantastic. I love it. But that's part of what it is. I mean, you're a shadow worker using your light, and you're doing it in a way that really helps really manifest it into the reality of it. At least that's how I see it, my own personal perspective.
I love it. A shadow worker using your light.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm glad you do, because it really is. And that brings us back to basically the Magdalene manuscript, because ultimately, by you living your truth, by you helping other women live their truth, you're helping them really align and energize their vibration and rise up. And when we are rising up in vibration, we get closer and closer to our alignment, then we manifest more and more and more. And I really foresee, like, you know, your business like really starting to just expand like wildfire even more. And I think it's exciting for me to watch, and for other people to watch, and for the women that you're going to help. So,
thank you.
You're welcome. So, I did have one more thing I wanted to talk about before we had to go.
Okay.
You do yoga and some chakra work.
Yes.
Do you have a specific favorite chakra that you like working on?
Ooh. Not really, actually. It kind of just calls to me, I think. I worked on my heart chakra for a long time at the beginning. I'm still working on my throat chakra. I'm getting my tonsils out a week from today.
That's going to help.
You think so?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Because I'm really nervous about that one. But I feel like it's the next step. Mm-hmm. It's like almost a rebirth I'm going to go through during that. And sacral chakra and root, I find they're all important. Come on.
I know. I was waiting for you to get there. Come on. They're all important.
Layla. I'm sorry.
It's totally okay.
I don't have James to herd them.
It's totally okay. No, I love them all too. I think for me, throat chakra has been one of the ones I've been working on more recently. Sacral obviously is the one that I like. I'm a Scorpio first and foremost, so the pelvic area is where my entire vibration and energy is focused on. So the sacral chakra is really what I'm about. And so, but the root chakra is so important too. And I think what a lot of people do is they underestimate the importance of the root chakra.
Yes.
So yeah, so I just want to touch on that, you know, because, you know, I follow your stories. I see you're doing yoga. Do you have a particular type of yoga that you like doing?
I like yin yoga a lot.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know Boho Beautiful? She's on YouTube.
I do. I've been following her for many years. Her legs. Like, holy shit. Like,
me too. She has some of the best yoga. Like, I can't get even like to go to like a class or something. I find I don't feel the same way. Like, I did a yoga today that was one of hers, and I was like, I felt so like good after, and just she gets the energy flowing and moves it where it needs to go, and she really understands yoga.
Yeah, she really does. She really has a great flow, and I love the energy between her and her partner as well. They're so great. If you tend to want to do like a vinyasa yoga or something that's like a bit more power, like intense or something like that, 5 Parks Yoga on YouTube with Erin Sampson.
Okay.
I really enjoy.
You have to send me these.
I will. You know what? Let's go ahead and stop this. We're going to go ahead and end this episode, y'all, because this is going to be where Taara and I can really just kind of chit chat for a little bit and let her go, because she's got things to do. I've got things to do. So before we just keep rambling on with everything, let's go ahead and end this episode. So thanks so much for hanging with us. It is 1:12 on 12/11 right now that we are ending this episode, Pacific time. So everybody, thank you for listening. If you, I'm pretty sure you caught the first part 1 of this, healthy lifestyle, human lifestyles and sexuality series. But you can follow Taara. Taara, let everybody know where they can follow you and get a hold of you at.
Website is sexuninterrupted.com. Instagram is sex.uninterrupted. And that's probably like the most popular thing. And also, if you sign up for the mailing list for Spiritual Slut, I do have a guided meditation for your chakras that I recorded.
Ooh, everybody go sign up. I'm going to. I love it. I'm actually working on a moving meditation for your sacral chakra. Yeah. So I'm really excited for that. So, all right, everybody. blah, 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 blah. 1:13 now. So thank you so much for listening in and tuning into this episode. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Later.